All right. Welcome, everybody, to the live coding happy hour special early edition. For some of us, it is earlier than others. So welcome, my compatriots, Chuck Tomasi.
Hi.
And Josh Nerius.
Oh, hey.
I stepped all over Chuck.
Introductions.
All right. I'm sorry. Do that again, Chuck. I won't step on you this time.
I'll just go by the guy with the tie. Platform architect with ServiceNow in the solution consulting group, doing custom applications. This is right up my alley. Love doing this. Learn something new every time from these guys. Glad to be here again. And today's drink of choice is Tazo Passion herbal tea. I've been decaffeinated for about 20 years.
All right. And Josh?
And that's my alarm going off. And I'm not usually up. Well, I guess it's 8 o'clock. I'm a developer evangelist. I work with Dave Slusher on the developer program. And today, my drink of choice is Intelligentsia house blend coffee, freshly ground this morning. It's delicious.
All right. And I am Dave Slusher, also developer evangelist with the developer program. Did we plug it? Developer.servicenow.com. If you don't already have a personal developer instance, you should. So there you go. Developer.servicenow.com. So what we're going to do this time, our production meeting, which was a couple minutes ago. What we're going to do is kind of work on the service portal widget that we have been talking about in previous weeks. We didn't, Josh has been doing the OAuth thing for a couple weeks. And we didn't have one last week. Last week was hurricane related why we didn't have one. So this time what we're going to do is we're going to do some service portal. Go back to that service portal widget. And let me go ahead and share my screen.
Lock the screen too.
So let's get my screen share going. And let's get it locked on me. All right.
It's a beautiful thing.
All right. And so the first thing I noticed, it's been a little while since I've come back to this. And I noticed the first thing it said is this widget is read only, which I don't even remember. I guess I have done some form of publish to it. I don't remember what I did to get it into the read only state. I think it is equivalent to like a workflow when you publish it. And at that point it's immutable and you can only, do a new version. So just for the purpose of kind of carrying this forward, let's call it DoNow Review 2. All right.
It's like your dev instance, it gets tired and goes to sleep.
Yeah, don't we all? All right. So, the things that the things that we wanted to talk about is basically kind of getting this more productized. So, up to this point, it's been a proof of concept. Just as a quick review, of our GTD implementation. What we've got here is a system where we can show and hide these columns based on priority. And we do this, the Angular is responding real time as we do that. And we can also show and hide contexts. And based on the context, you could say, okay, I want to show just my work right now. Show my work high priority, my work now and next priorities. And I would show you these. Or you can say, I just want to show my inbox, for every priority. So we could do this. So this is everything at this point that has not been, prioritized and, put into a different context. So the things that we can do, we want to style this a little because it looks a little funky. And, this text is way bigger than we actually need it. It's basically all default, right? Because if you look at the CSS, we've set up very little of this. So we can start to style this. And then the other thing that I want to do while we're sitting here is you have in the service portal, you have some classes that are built in, and that little red circle, very much like the OS 10 like notification type number.
Yeah, a little badge.
Yeah, there's a CSS class for that's built into Service Portal. And so I think what I'd like to do is just have that hanging out like right here at the top of each of these columns. like how many things are showing in there at the time, because because if they're scrolling down, you may not know how many are there. So it'd be nice to just have a little badge there. So I think we're going to work on those two things this morning. All right, so let's kind of begin there. Let's start with, I think I'd like to start with the badge.
Okay.
So let's do that. So step one, Josh, and I know that you have worked with this. Do you, off the top of your head, remember what the CSS class is? I might have to look this up. Actually, in your little proof of concept that you were doing previously, you used that. Let me see.
Yeah, I did, and I think it was a basic. It was Bootstrap. I know that much.
Yeah, let me go and look at your. What did you call that thing? DoNow edit. What was it?
Hopefully, it's still there. I know I had a little bit of a mishap with source control one day, so. But it was my fault, not source control's fault.
Find Josh's widget, and we're gonna get that. We're gonna get that class. And it's probably, if we go to Service Portal IO, we can probably also find it.
While you're looking there, I'm looking on my side to see if I can locate it.
Okay. So what we want to do is, in the HTML template, what we need to do is right here, as we're iterating through. I'm gonna go ahead and close the preview for a second. What we're gonna do in the template is, as we're iterating through, up here at the top of the container where we have this, we want to have the badge in here somewhere. So what we need is, we've got the title up here, which is the priority name. So we're going to go ahead and just add here.
As I'm going here, I did find there's a span class equals badge, and if you put that around your value, it should make it look something like you want.
I'm going to try to just make that class be the badge. I may have to wrap this in a span. I'm not 100% sure. So what we want here now, we want to get the count of the priority. So what we want is the count of this guy right here.
Now, my question is, do you have to do anything to the data model to pass that back, or is it going to be
I think we should. So right now, data.priorities is an array of all the things that's in there.
So you should be able to get the dot length property.
Yeah, let's do. Again, this is the live part of the live coding. Is none of the three of us, I think, know how to do things right now. Angular.
Yes. Count in time zones too.
Get count of item. Let's just do that.
Yeah. Yes, and I think while you're looking that up, it's just the double reiteration of the fact that this is not a demo today. And if you've never seen live coding happy hour, we're working through it.
Yeah, dot length. So let's just go ahead and try that.
You get to see the learning process in action.
Yeah, that is. I mean, that is the design. That is the design principle here. This is guys just trying it. That's all we're ever doing here. This is what it looks like. If you were to sit over our shoulder all day while we were doing it, this is what it would look like. It's like, oh, I mean, I'm going to be honest. At this point, we were talking about this yesterday in Tech Now. I'm 20 years into this career. Chuck's 30 years into it. Josh, you're about 10-ish, something like that. The number of things I know off the top of my head, it shrinks the longer I go. I know fewer things off the top of my head now than I did 18 years ago.
Even more so when you're trying to do it live.
Yeah. All right. So, in fact, we got something.
Thing. The colors are a little wonky.
Oh, you know what? Oh, you know what? I'm doing the wrong. I'm counting on the wrong thing. So the colors are wrong. So we're already a little bit of the way there.
Okay.
So you'll notice that, in fact, what I did, I filtered on priorities, data priorities, which is the wrong thing. What? That's data priorities. That's the array of possible priorities.
The context.
Exactly.
Oh.
What I want is the actions. I want this, because this is what I'm doing. This is essentially the horizontal iteration, and this guy down here is the vertical iteration. So I'm just counting the number of priorities there, which is not the right thing. So this is what I think. If I do this, that should be closer. And let me go ahead and show it. Remember the trick that I said last time is this will automatically refresh if it's showing, and it won't if you don't. So I just show it before I save.
Got a light gray football.
Now,
the pill is there.
I think this is actually correct. So it's not the right color, but I think that's the right data. 581.
I can't see the numbers in there quite.
Yeah,
clearly,
let's tell you what. Let's work on getting that colored correctly. Is the next thing. Let's see if we can figure out how to make that Joker red.
That's clearly not 508 or 509 compliant, whatever it is for the visually impaired.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Hey, I can't read it either. I have to. I'm tilting my screen, so I can actually see the number. So I can see that now is 5. Actually, if I highlighted it, it makes it better.
Oh, there you go. That's
81, 3. So the other thing is, so there's two things happening here. One is which, actually, I didn't know I could drag that column. So this, I think, is correct to the data on the system. You'll notice 81 is, this next is 81, and I don't think that there are 81 showing. Again, this widget preview doesn't scroll. Actually, here's how we can do it. Let's get rid of some of these and see if those numbers change. And see if that matches. See now, so what we're displaying the underlying data, but what we're not showing is the number. Yeah, the live data.
Okay.
And would that be? Can that be filtered sort of in the same way? Whatever criteria is determining what's shown, can we filter that number through that as well?
I think so. And so, Angular person in data, use the alias expression. So in the filter, so essentially what it looks like we can do is that we can do essentially a what you call it, like a named filter. So see what we're doing here? So we'll go back over to our filter, and we're going to just give it I'll just call it, let's just call it filtered. So we're ng repeat. And actually the deal is, am I priority value? I think actually, so here's where it gets even a little trickier. Is I'm going to have to do something, because what I'm not doing is filtering. I'm doing an ng if at the card level to see if my context is showing. So what I'm not doing is a filter over here. So how this is doing the person in data, and then it's doing the filter query.
Yeah.
So I could do this one of two ways. One way would be, and so the other problem being, I don't think that I can do the name query, the name filter thing, because if you'll notice, I'm using it outside of that. So here's the context of that iteration, is this MD card thing, and I would be using it above it. So like in the scope of our Angular here, this has not yet been declared at the point where I'm trying to use it. Does that make sense, guys? The MD card is the element I'm iterating on. So I'm creating an array of MD cards inside this div. And if I did do that thing, and I'm using an ng if to see, is my context showing? That's right. That's this thing. So it's basically querying this model on display time for each one of those guys. However, if I went through, and I could conceivably go through and filter this, I could maybe write some sort of filter around this. So basically move this logic into here as a filter, which would be kind of functionally equivalent. And I could name it, which would let me use that variable in here. But I couldn't use it up here, because you kind of think of the containment scope of this.
Right.
That has not, like at this point in the HTML right here, that does not exist, because it's not going to. It's
right. Okay.
So what I need to do is either do do some kind of, I probably need, at this point, I probably need controller code if I'm really dying to get this actual data, where I need to basically iterate over this list. So I've got the data, I've got this. This is my list. And I need to iterate over it, and I need, for each one of them, I need to see, is this showing? And then get a count of that. So let's think about adding this to our controller. Let's just put it up top. Let's call it scope.count actions. And we'll give it naming variables, always the most.
It's the worst.
What am I doing? I'm not even doing this right. All right. Count actions equals function action list. We're going to, so now we want to iterate over this. I equals 0. I action list dot length. I plus plus. Nothing more exciting than watching somebody write a for loop. Now for each one of these guys, I'm going to go ahead and just var action equals, just for ease of reference in this thing. This might actually be overkill because I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do yet. We also need a count. Right?
Yep.
So now if this right here, context models, if the action context, basically if this is true, context models, if context models, what I'm going to do here, I'm going to go for broke, and I'm just going to
action. Yeah, yeah.
I'm going to just go for broke. I'm not 100% sure that this code is going to work.
That's where I would have gone. We're on the right track.
I think because I believe that context models will be contained in the scope variable. If that's the case, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is another JavaScripty thing. I'm going to have to do this. Do I have, because it doesn't mute it, right? Isn't that a weirdness of JavaScript? Does the plus plus mutate the one, or does it? I don't even know.
You should be able to just do a count plus plus.
Yeah, you should be able to.
Let's do that.
Yep.
Remember there being one weirdness in JavaScript, so we'll do that. And then return the count. Okay, so now let's just, again, I'm going to go for complete broke here. And what I'm going to do here is just
call the function
and see what happens. Count actions. So again, because this is basically anything you in your HTML, anything you surround in that double bracket syntax is going to be, you're essentially calling code. So a lot of times you're just echoing back the name of a thing like we are in priority name. But but in this case, what we're doing here is calling this action of the controller. I don't believe, and so at that point, because it's in the scope and the scope is kind of automatically there, should work. Now, cover me for 1 second, boys, because I got to do a thing. Turn off a thing I forgot to turn off.
Oh, no problem.
Do a save.
So while you're doing that,
right.
It feels good. The coffee is kicking in. I'm starting to wake up, sort of.
All right. So
I'm seeing hints of daylight outside. Got to remember, it's barely after 6 a.m. for me.
Yeah, you've got it far worse, Chuck.
I've been up since 4. It's a good day.
All right. So let's save it and see what happens. The other thing is, let me go ahead and turn on JavaScript console. And we're going to do that.
Friend.
Yeah. I always try to remind people that that when you're doing it, particularly when you're writing new code, you're not sure what's going to go on, go ahead and do this, because if you throw a JavaScript error, you want to see it over here.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go ahead and save it, although I think I can't do it all at the same time unless I can shrink this to where I can get the save button. That's
It's almost there.
I'm going to have to go. It won't do it. All right. If I get rid of the client script.
Well, you can pop your error window out to a separate window, though.
Yeah, let's do that.
I think it's...
That's not
it. That's not the one.
Not it?
I thought it was.
That's the inspector thingy.
Well, I'll just turn it on later. All right, do that. All right, let's see if you see those numbers changing. Oh, look at that. So you can't see that. 81.
Yes.
68.
It worked first time. Well, that makes live coding happy hour shorter.
Whoa. Whoa.
I'm going to be honest, guys. I would not have bet. I would have bet against myself.
So Dave, I have the utmost faith in you, but I did not think that was going to work.
I didn't think it was going to work either. All right, so let's go back and review exactly what just happened.
I had total confidence.
Oh, I did not. All right, so we're going through again. What we're doing is we're passing in. So one of the nice things is I didn't have to actually. It's getting a little bit. The logic is getting a little bit pearly in the sense that we've got these action objects that have the attributes, and they're basically the JSON objects we create over here on the server side, right? So over here we build it. This is our action object, and it is it's a subset of stuff in the database. It's only what we filled in this actual. It's not everything out of the glide record. It's these particular fields that we filled in there. So the logic that we're doing is all based on this stuff, right? And so the nice thing is the logic is already there, and I've figured it through. That we know that this is either going to be a true or false value, which is whether or not this thing is checked. That is the value of context model action.context. So it's getting a little bit hairy. I mean, it's off the top of your head. You have to kind of unwind it a little bit, but luckily it was already still there. So, now what let's do is tackle the CSS and see if we can figure out so that you can actually see this working. All right, so let's hide this. But again, like I said, guys, that was simpler than I thought, which is actually a big blow or not blow, but it's a big vote in favor of both Service Portal widgets and Angular as a whole, right? Is that we did here's what it really did right now is it completely conformed to the principle of least surprise. You know what I mean? This is as far as I know, I'm the only person I ever hear to talk about this in programming. But the principle of least surprise. What will surprise you the least if you try it? What would be the least surprising API to exist at this point? And so that's exactly what we did, right? And so it did exactly what we expected it to do. So, all right. So now we have to figure out how do we make the badge color be red. Now we may have to go and let me pull over my other
green
tab.
Or something
or anything that's not gray. We may have to go and figure out somebody else that has this. Do you guys, off the top of your head, do you remember any of these that have a badge that works? Ticket. I'm going to look at some of the existing out of the box ones.
The only thing I think that has a badge is the
requested items. It seems like maybe that would help. Let's examine that right quickly.
Oh, my requests.
My request.
There's a little badge at the top of the title bar. Can you get your hands on the title bar?
We will find out.
My request right here.
Something else that you might be able to do now that I'm thinking about this is instead of using the badge class, you could actually use a label. So if you change that from badge to label, say danger, label dash danger, it's going to automatically be red. Or I think label dash primary is going to be blue.
Oh yeah, the standard bootstrap.
You said that thing?
Yeah,
Let's try
let's do actually, and there might be more to it. So there's label, label pill, label primary. So those are the 3 classes that you've got to add to it. And
So I want to make all of those be the class. Is there space separated inside the class name? Is that right?
yep.
Yep.
Yeah. Space.
Label,
between.
space,
label,
danger, pill, like that.
Label space label dash pill.
Label dash.
And then space label dash primary or danger or whatever. So you've got 3 total.
Let's do danger.
I like danger.
Danger.
Living dangerously today.
Nick Danger, Private Eye. All right, here we go.
We'll see.
And
boom.
That's good enough. That's good enough to me. And now that we can see it, actually, we'll re-demonstrate. So let's do it that way.
Exciting. Well, that took less than a half an hour.
I know. All right. So this is actually. So I like this a lot, right? This is exactly what I wanted. You know, when we were describing the thing that I wanted that so that you have a visual indicator of how much more scrolling down there is.
Mm-hmm.
So you know, is this just the couple things that are up here? And they should all be 0 when I do this.
Very nice.
Here's an idea since we clearly are making pretty good progress here. Let's think about how we would hide that when it's 0. So it involves calling this twice, which is a little bit. Let's do an ng if. Let's do an ng if. We're going to do the same thing here.
Yeah, equals
Take
0.
this out of here.
Or not equals 0.
Or yeah, greater than 0. Let's say
Greater than 0.
Greater than 0, and that should only show that if that. So there's some sub optimization here in the fact that we're counting it twice. So we'll live with that for now and maybe forever.
Yeah, it could. The only thing I can see is that it could collapse uneven vertically if it reclaims the space.
I don't think so, because I think we're laying it out in this span, which is I think also kind of and actually the other thing. It may fill this thing. Let's see when it. Yeah. So we may want to think that through. I'm okay with that for right now.
Okay.
Because essentially it is using all the, the vertical space that it has available in here, which, if there's one, it's going to be the whole thing, right? Which may not want it to be like that forever. But so we've got that, and let us see now if we've got the ngF on there. So I think we've got everything we want on that.
Mm-hmm.
So we're showing all of them. Uh-oh. It went away.
All disappeared.
All right, so clearly our ngF is not correct. ngF greater than 0. Count actions. Oh, I know why. Because
Did you curly brace it or something?
I did not.
Oh.
Yeah, I did not have balanced parentheses.
Log?
Well, let's do that right quick. So we should have seen an error in the console log.
A few.
Yeah, and in fact, you know why there's so many, right?
Once it's got a syntax error, it's going to blow up.
Well, we should be seeing it 6 times.
Ah. One for every column.
Yeah. So correct. All right. So let's hide that again. And now, are we back? We're back with that. And let's go ahead and turn some of this stuff off.
Oh.
And it is in fact hiding that when we don't have anything in there. So that actually is doing that right there. So if there's nothing in the column, it's not showing a 0. I actually think I maybe like it better with the 0.
I think I do too.
Having tried that and seen that works, I want to get rid of it because I don't like the way it looks.
Slash.
But
no.
the other thing is, this is yet another naive thing because I wasn't 100% sure. I would kind of assumed, I suspected that you could just basically put that ngF in any element up here, right? The div is, I assumed that wasn't going to cause any problems sticking ngF in a div, but I didn't know that for a fact because it's not an Angular component. But apparently the Angular. Oh, go ahead.
It gives me some other ideas that you could do different styles for different numbers. Maybe 0 is black or if you get over 15 or 20 or some number that you can define, it starts to go from green to yellow to orange to red to say, look, you've got way too many things in here. And some sort of visual indicator based on color, you could put that in quite easily with the same method.
Well, how about that? You want to pursue that? We can
got time.
We've got time. So essentially what we're going to do is the equivalent of how I do the columns. So like this is the default column class, right? Which is contained in the scope. And so Bootstrap is a 12, like 12 is the magic number in Bootstrap. By default, you've got 12 columns out there. And by default, we've got 6 priorities. So I just default this thing to 2 unless you know anything different, right? But I've got this calculate column size where I do a very similar set of logic to what we just did, where I loop over all the priorities, I count how many are showing. And I recalculate basically this column class. I'm just saying, so if we've got 4 showing, you do the 12 divided by 4, you get the floor of that. So column SM3. So everybody takes up 3 columns now at that point. So we could do exactly the same thing to calculate the class that we're showing over here. So what we need to do is find out either like what the other equivalents are. Is like danger is red, and do you know off the top of your head like what the other ones would be, or do we want to just
I have them here actually. So
cool.
Yeah, so it goes, there are 6 of these. Starts at default, which is gray, goes to primary, which is blue. And I'll paste these in our chat here. And then there's success is green, info is light blue, warning is yellow, and red is danger. So they don't necessarily directly correspond with sort of the escalation. We'd have to sort of decide what we wanted that to look like.
Okay. Let's call it calculate priority. Calculate
the count color.
Good. Sure, that's good enough for me. By the way, if one of you gentlemen could open, follow to the actual YouTube link and see if anybody has said anything in the chat there. I have forgot to open that.
Oh yeah, let's see.
And
okay, yeah. So somebody mentioned that there was the header has a badge, so that was helpful. And then Andrew says remove the columns all the way if the count is 0. Gives you more room.
Yeah, we could do that. We absolutely could do that.
Didn't we do something like that in Visual Task Boards, and we got some customer feedback that wasn't quite right, or maybe we.
Yeah, I mean, I can see a case for that. I can see a case either way. That's one of those ones that could really go either way, because
if it's not there, how do you drag something to it to put a new thing in that?
Yes.
Not there?
Yeah, I think that's why you can't do that, because it's got to be there as a target for reordering. At least for this particular thing. You could maybe do it if you had a similar, like if you cloned this and had simply, so it was not, so that you weren't necessarily also reordering, but you was simply the work it list, right? And you're never going to reorder from it. That might actually make sense in that use case, where all I want to do is see the things I'm working, and the only thing I'm going to do is look at them, view them, close them.
Yeah.
So so here is kind of this is like the review. This is the daily review type view, but you could have a my current work type view that would make more sense for. All right. So calculate count color. And in fact, what we can do is step 1 is get the count, and let's just call it, right? We don't have to duplicate that code. And it's a little bit weird is why are those the only things that were in there? And now we're actually seeing this controller is getting just long enough that I'm having trouble finding things. So we're going to do that. We're going to count the actions. And then we're just going to call it
make up some arbitrary limits at this point.
Yeah, well, we can just hard code them right now. Let's just say if count less than 5, 3.
Maybe go for that nice green color.
All right, you remember which one that is?
That is going to be success. Label-success.
All right, so let's do this.
Need a var somewhere.
No, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in the thing that's in the scope. So let me go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and declare this up here. And what was that you just said, Josh?
Label-success.
-success. We'll make that be the default. This is one of those things. It's not strictly needed, but I like to do this just so that it's in there and you've got a thing kind of in the scope.
Yep.
Yeah, it feels like a pretty good practice.
It's kind of like putting a this in a script include.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think. I want to do this escalating so that I don't need to have lots of boundaries. I just want to do it. I just want to basically want to sieve it up, right? Count is less than 10. So really, we're talking about between 4 and 10, right?
Yeah. In looking at these colors and the way they look, I honestly think that we don't want more than probably 3.
Okay.
Because they, graduating shades of blue, what does that really mean?
Okay.
So the next one is warning.
Any blue one.
Oh,
is
blue?
that blue?
No, sorry. So blue is going to be...
Oh, is warning yellow?
Warning is yellow, yeah.
Okay, yeah, let's do that.
Okay, cool.
And then we can just do an else. Actually, we don't even. Yeah, let's go. Yeah, we do.
Andrew said this is where the collapsing arrows on the script editor would be nice.
Oh yeah,
that's a block of code.
I would like that.
And in fact, we don't even need a return value here because it's in the scope.
That's correct.
So now, at this point, all we need to do is...
Oh, and that third one is labeled danger.
Wait.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Okay.
I'm going through your logic, make sure we don't have any overlapping. Okay.
Because if it's less than 3, if it's less than 3, it'll do this. Because it's an else if, it will only get here if it's not less than 3. So it's kind of like naturally sieve between 4 and 10 here. And then if it made it here, then it's by default, or by definition, over 11.
Gotcha. My brain was building up to those values, not looking at less thans. It was doing greater thans in my head.
All right. So let's do... Now, here's another, let's go for broke on this. Again, I don't actually think this is going to work, but I'm going to try it. I think it will. If I stick count class in here, you're going to treat it as the literal string. Because now this will be an interesting experiment because, again, when we talked about this before, in these things in here, where you're not, like right here, I don't know that I, strictly speaking, need to be doing it this way. Where I have the MD content ID equals priority value, etc. I think it would be the same as if I didn't have those brackets there. I don't know that those... I'm not sure if I do or don't need the brackets there. So let's try this. This probably will not work.
Try it without brackets, but you got to put your parameters in there.
Yeah, I think because it's not an interactive, right? Oh yeah, good call as well.
Oh.
Because I think it's just a simple div. Is it?
No, because what I want to do is so what we're doing, we've got this. Okay, here's a part where my mind has gone astray here. Oh, so we've got the calculate. So the calculate's going to change the value of this count.
Yes,
so what we want to...
I see what you're doing. Yep.
But what we need is... Then what we need over here is... This might be... We might be doing this upside down.
You could... Well...
I don't know that we want to do... I don't know that we want to do that here.
You could do it inside your calculate column size. I mean, you could essentially say we're calculating the column size. It's also going to do the class. It feels a little bit
Link.
Hacky.
to me. Yeah. So for future viewers, this is maybe not Angular best practice, but
No. Oh, but the problem being, here's the problem, is that we need this to calculate the count color.
Yeah.
We don't have a reference to that here.
you could pass it in.
Or we could find it because we don't because we're acting here. We're acting on a column.
Yep.
And
there
in
you're acting on
fact,
the elements in that column.
Yeah. All right. So
Well,
now
so the question: Where are we calculating the counts again? Because if we can somehow hijack that,
so we've
the
got
count actions.
Oh, we could do that in here.
Yep. Because this is
When
sort
you
of the
count
natural
the
place.
number, you calculate the color.
Exactly.
Here's another. We've got another big problem, which is count class. There's a single variable holding this. Well, guess what, guys? We got 6 of
You
them.
got 5 of them, 6 of them. Oops.
So that's
Making
the
an
problem.
array.
That's not going to work. So
No.
I guarantee that will not work. So you would need this needs to be an array.
Or either that, or actually, what about if you just return the count color?
Return.
So call the.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So we'll make this alive. But we won't do this. We will just change this to returning this.
Yep.
This may make more sense. This is one of those judgment call things, which is how much junk do I want to stick in the scope?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we'll just do that. We will now we're going to see, this will be one of those rubber meets the roads. This is back to the original experiment. I was wondering whether it was going to work or not. What happens if we do calculate count color by this guy?
Throw the holy water and pray.
And I'm guessing, and I could be wrong, but I don't think it's going to work. That's my
My
theory.
definitely won't if I don't have unbalanced parentheses.
That is true.
All right, so let's before we press the button, let's take our bets. Josh says not work. I think it won't work. I think actually it will work. I'll take the other side just to make it interesting.
Yep.
I think it might, because I think there is, and this is something I don't know. I'm talking kind of off the top of my head here. Is there's definitely seems like there's some sort of resolution phase where Angular is trying to invoke these things, and if it doesn't, it like falls back to it being literal. So I think it's possible that it works. So I'm willing to see. And do we have? Yes, we will.
Why even hit the run button?
Okay, there you go.
I have a theory on why I think it won't, but I'll save that theory until we actually know.
And all right, let's open the thing, and I think there's probably some form of syntax error in there.
Crash and burn totally. We still have car, whatnot.
That's true. Didn't run. I think it didn't even try to run. I think it just applied it as a weird class.
Oh, do the views? Can you view the source?
I can if I do the inspect element.
Programmer's worst nightmare. No output.
Yeah.
No
Oh, there you go.
numbers.
So see what it is. Josh is right. It did not attempt to.
It took it literal.
And I
Okay,
think
so
the
literal.
reason is, and why some of the time it feels like this stuff works, is because I believe if you put this sort of thing inside an Angular directive, I think some of the time those directives know more. They're a little bit. I think that's where the Angular magic kicks in.
That could very well be that,
thing
'cause
that it tacked on. Dave,
Yeah,
I
because-
noticed it not only had the function call, but at the end of the dot value, it had a .ng binding. Did you see that?
Yeah. Let's look at that again. And that's
And Brad in the chat is just mentioning. He said you might want to use ng class to pass the count class.
Oh, all right. Excellent.
Brad's on board. We're in trouble.
All right.
We're gonna all
So, all right. Let's get rid of that.
Just call Nathan
Let's-
Firth and we'll give up.
Yeah, and that would then allow you to just use the expression instead of the brackets, I think. And this is exactly where.
I have a secondary idea. Instead of just passing back that piece of the class, why not pass back all 3? And then you've got label,
Okay.
label pill, and
All right. So we're back to, we've got our counts. Our counts are working and our class is not.
okay.
See over here. So that is a sound suggestion. So let's.
We're sort of mixing literals and function calls here.
Right. So what you're saying is over here in the client script, and by the way, we'll see that I do have a hard stop at the top of the hour, so I need to stop about 3 minutes till. Yeah, so let's go ahead and there's no reason to not. This is kind of a little bit ugly. This maybe is a thing you would factor.
I call it flexibility.
You might factor this differently, like appending this to something. But right now we'll do it this way. Now we get rid of these and we'll make it solely that.
Yeah, we don't need the curly brackets in there.
Let's try it without, because it is an NG, because it is not. I think that's what the suggestion of making it NG class means, that it's now basically directive friendly, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I don't know what the terminology would be, but I think it might be attempting, like when we said it was class before, it is just going to do that literal text. But by making it NG class, I think it maybe is trying to resolve that to see, is this a executable chunk of code that it can deal with? Whoa!
Nice. Thank you, Brad.
That's exciting.
That was the exactly correct suggestion. There you go.
Yeah. And interestingly, so I'm looking at the NG class documentation too, and there's some other cool stuff that you can do with that. You can basically return an object, and it will resolve the object to determine which class to apply, which gets a little interesting.
So look at the someday.
Look at any changes.
Yeah, watch that someday.
Oh yeah.
All right. So
Beautiful.
This actually is a pretty good success case. This is
and we have test data that actually exercises all three. How nice is that?
This is, yeah, on my local instance, if you'll notice, there's an awful lot of because this is the same instance I used to test the inbound actions. There's an awful lot of stuff. So we've got about 10 more minutes that we can play with this. You want to get into some CSS and see if we can make this a little better?
Oh, the card layout itself?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So obviously this is a little artificial. It would look more like this, but even so, I want this to be smaller.
Yeah. Even on someday that Tom's run off the road.
Yeah. So let's and so CSS is not my strong suit. I don't know about you guys.
I'm a CSS hack at best.
What I think we want to do, MD. So we don't. I think maybe what we want to do is just do another ad hoc class in here, so we can just kind of do this on the fly.
Okay.
So we've got MD subhead, which is MD subhead is a built-in. It's a material design thing, and so I'm just maybe just add another class. Well, the beauty is we don't have to have a single class, right? So let's say action title. Create a little CSS action title, and then now
I think you need a dot in front of that.
Dot action for anything that's for the class, because it would be an element if I don't prefix it. Is that right? And it would be a class if I do a dot. Okay.
And it's a hash for an ID, if I remember right.
Correct. Yep. Hash for an ID.
All right.
You can tell we're all UI guys here. We're,
UI always comes last. Just like documentation.
If I could just rate APIs, I'd be happy.
Well, I'll tell you guys a very quick anecdote from my previous life. Is years ago I worked at an unnamed company that you may book travel through, and the way that it was organized is that we had a very struts-like system. And so my job was to basically fill data structures, do logic and fill data structures. And then there was another person who was a designer who would write basically the JSP. So it was an extremely cool organization where I didn't have to worry about making anything pretty, right? All I had to do was make the logic correct and the data right. And then somebody else is going to do all the styling, all the everything. And I thought that was a very great way to work. So what if we do this? So this isn't necessarily what we're going to leave it on. I just want to do something to make it obvious that it's changing. So I'm just going to add this small caps into the action title, and we'll see if we are actually doing the thing that we want.
Now, was the action title? I think, did you put that on the wrong? Oh, I'm sorry. Never mind. You're good.
Action title is down
Or no,
here.
you're not.
Oh, I did. I put it on this thing. You're
Yeah.
right. You are absolutely correct, sir. This is why we have all of us. Strength in numbers. All right. So action title, I actually put on what I want is on the headline. And I could actually, because we could actually, because that's the only one that uses the headline, we could actually change it. But I think I actually like the idea of having a different, of not altering the material design stuff, of just adding our own class to that.
Yeah, yeah.
I like this approach better. So that's not small enough. So that did change the thing. It did affect it, right? So now we've got the caps, but that's not exactly what I wanted it to do. I want it to be
caps.
font size. So
now
let's do this. Font size,
or you could
small.
do a point size. There you go.
Font size small. Let's see how small is.
Smaller than a large.
Font size small. Now this is as easily. It's funny because what you're talking about us not being UI guys. Think about how quickly we went through the logic that did all this stuff, versus it will probably take longer to make the CSS look the way that I want.
It's like carpenters. You can slap up a wall, put an opening in it, but it takes a while to hang the door and put the finishing trim on.
All right, I like that much better. It's much closer to what I was looking for. Are those two? What I want to do, maybe we'll bold it. The problem with it is
now it's not quite titly enough.
Exactly. So I kind of got what I asked for, but it was very much in the careful what you wish for thing.
Well, you should just be able to tweak the CSS now. Just say small and then put font.
Yeah, at this point, we've moved it into. So let's do that. How about this? Let's what we'll do is let's just create a class for everything.
Fill them out. Yeah.
Let's just create a logical class in every one of these guys. And if we don't use them, we don't use them, right? No harm in that.
Certainly makes it easy to extend later if we do. So
yeah,
so we'll just go ahead and do.
Do you want to put one on your MD button at the bottom too? Your close is somewhat muted at this point.
Yeah, it is. And in fact, we don't even have a class, so we'll add a class. And then the question would be, I guess, so what we'll do is we'll default to using them as class. If we decide we're going to have any sort of logic-y thing, we would just change these to ng class. And let's, action class. We'll keep with the action prefix for everything in here. We'll save that. And so this should have no effect on anything.
Right.
Just don't want it to
keywords.
Yeah, I just didn't want to make it disappear or something like that. All right. So that's kind of where we where we're at there. Now let's even, how about this? Let's go ahead and, problem being here is, I'm doing that for copy and paste ability.
Garbage truck's here, and he's backing up.
And we're just gonna
threshold on the. I can't hear it.
Oh, that's not right.
Font weight? No, font size.
Oh, whoa.
You know it's early in the morning when.
What did you do?
Action number, font size, action title, font size. All right, action title, number.
Action number, title, assigned. And
context. Assigned.
See, that just makes me happy because that's something I would do.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I feel better that I wasn't the person that did it.
You're not done yet.
Whoop.
You have font dash stuff left all over
Oh,
the
yeah.
Font size and font
You need a colon.
And I also don't have colons. Yeah. I would like to blame this on early morning, but I could do this anytime, day or night.
Oddly, this is my most productive time of the day. We should do this more often.
All right. So now what I'm going to do is everything else I'm going to make extra small. Now, the problem being is we're kind of doing what you call premature optimization because we may make it, for example, illegible on a mobile device, which is part of the appeal of doing it the way we're doing it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's do that, and what we should do is see those get a little bit smaller. So they should be smaller. Yeah, so those are now smaller than what we've got.
They're not quite aligned in the box, or is that what just?
They're aligned. They're aligned left. Well, yeah. So that's okay. I got no problem looking at the alignment of that.
Oh, you know what it is? It's a left margin forcing it off the box.
Yeah, that's what's happening on those guys. Is
left margin.
But the close, I noticed that the close has a different. I think because it's got a different layout. Actually, let me get rid of this layout right here, just out of a sheer experiment to see what happens.
Looking a little different. Close has something going on.
Close has its own layout. No, it's the same either way. Well, that's not that's actually, we're almost at stop time. So I think at this point, we're going to call this good.
Yep.
Can we check? Does anybody have any closing comments in the YouTube that we want to look at?
I was checking on that. Latha said, not sure if I should ask here, but I wanted to know if I can get the integer field validation working in Service Portal.
Integer field validation.
I said, if there's time, we'll take a look, but I don't dig into that quite so far.
We can get you a little errata on that. I don't know off the top of my head. Is this a built-in ServiceNow? Do you know off the top of? I mean, you should be able to. You should be able to do that right here. So in your client script, if what you're wanting to do is validate whether or not it's an integer over here, you should be able to put. You would be able to put a function in here that is just say is integer. Do whatever your validation is in this code and return a true or false. And for example, you could do like the way we're doing the calculate count color. You could just say, give it a danger badge if not, if not integer, and give it a green if true, or whatever the logic is you want to do it. But you could absolutely do that. Is do your validation over here in the controller code, and then call it from your front end, and then do something different. Whether you're shower, you could do an ngIf, or change the class, or do something differently based on that logic. So. Yeah, I don't know the exact specifics of what you want to happen, but it is fundamentally doable, right? Anything that you want to do, you could do that over here. So the same way we're doing logic based on the number of items in the model, you could do the logic based on a value, pass the value in, and then validate it, and then return the results of the validation, and then act on that over here. All right. We had a good number of viewers. One of the main reasons that we did this is for Europe, Asia, and in particular India. So if you enjoyed the earlier time, let us know about it. We'll kind of, I don't know, how often? Once a month? Once every other month? Could be every other week if people really, really loved it and wanted to show up in droves. So one of the best ways to know about this, if you subscribe to the YouTube channel, you'll get notified when we go on the air. So thank you, everybody who was here live. Thank you, everybody who I realize I'm still presenting. Let me turn that off. Thank you, everybody who was here live. Thank you, everybody who watches this YouTube video afterwards. And there you go. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for still trying to turn off my screen share. All right.
We all learned something.
Technical difficulties. Right. There we go.
This is where Josh and I talk while Dave can actually click things.
It still locks your screen. There we go.
All right. So there you go. I'm trying to turn off the presentation. There you go. Okay.
We'll do this one live coding coffee hour.
Live coding coffee hour. All right. Yeah. So thank you, everybody. This is actually more fun, and we got further than I thought we were going to get. So this is I would say I love to end my week with this. The early mornings, they got a little different rhythm. I love like the last thing we do in the week being the live coding happy hour. I may do this again, just not broadcast.
So we're done at 7 a.m. is what you're saying.
Exactly.
So we rate our tea and coffee?
All right, my Dunkin' Donuts coffee from the Speedway down the street. I'm going to give it a 2.75.
My homebrewed Intelligentsia AeroPress coffee that I make every single morning, I'm very proud of. It's like a 4.5.
4.5. I'm going to give my Tazo Passion, it's all gone, heavily laden with my niece's honeybees honey, so it's homemade honey, is definitely a 4.5 also.
Good deal.
All right, gentlemen, I'm going to hit the button.
Sure.
And thank you, everybody. And we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.